Do you remember going to the store as a kid to buy a video game? The feeling of your mother finally letting you go into a GameStop after a full day of running errands with her? Grabbing cases by their artwork, flipping it around to see the screenshots with the little synopsis on it and finding something that piqued your interest? Finally, choosing a game and on the ride home reading the manual booklet it had on the inside so you're ready for the controls and the world you're gonna immerse yourself into. Then popping it into whatever console you owned, watching as the startup screen played and seeing the menu for the first time. Think even deeper. The world around you at the time. Didn't everything look a little more vibrant and cool? Is this just nostalgia or is it something else?
We got a gorilla for sale, McGilla gorilla for sale. We got a gorilla for sale, McGilla gorilla for sale. We got a gorilla for sale, McGilla gorilla for sale. Won't ya buy him, take him, control.
I'm going to be talking about a mix of things in this video, mainly the way video games changed in look and design, and how the world around me reflected this as well, proving that cool or unique designs were actually prominent in the world, and I'm not just blinded by nostalgia. Most importantly, it's from my perspective.
I was digging around a box looking for some cords and I stumbled upon 4 video game cases. Xbox One cases to be exact. Funny thing is, I still had the receipts inside the boxes for 2 of them.
I used to always exchange games back in the day, so you had to keep these receipts. And look at this one. I exchanged Xenoverse 2 for Dark Souls and got some money back too. Best decision of my life, even though I already beat it multiple times on the 360 at this point. Dated 2017 for both receipts. Crazy to think this was almost a decade ago now. Sadly, these are the last of the physical cases I used to own. I didn't have the foresight to know that physical media would be gone soon after. After seeing these physical cases, I remembered what these old consoles used to be like. These cool startup screens when you would turn them on. The way each menu for different games would be unique and fit the game or maybe even the time frame it released. I then thought about the contrast of what we have now. For all of you to get a better idea of the time I grew up in, I was born in 1999. Right before the turn of the century. I watched as the unique designs of the world slowly turned into a minimalistic and boring environment devoid of any personality or creativity that we live in now. So the reason I mentioned that I grew up poor was because I was always very late getting into the new generations of consoles. Years late. For example, I remember getting the PlayStation 2 when I was about 6-ish, maybe 7. So think 2005 to 2007-ish. The 360 released in 2005 just for you to be able to gauge how late I was to the party. My point in explaining that is specifically because of this. The sound and design are embedded into my brain cells. I will never forget this design and the feeling it used to give me when I was a child. I felt as if I was being transported to a different dimension, floating in space for a few seconds before being thrust through a wormhole, straight into whatever game I was playing. To my child eyes, this was one of the most unique things I have ever seen in my life. My curiosity peaked and I became quickly hooked. This isn't even mentioning the games themselves, which we'll get into soon, don't worry. But this is an example of a design we don't see anymore. It was far from a flat design. It was cool. It felt different and new. A stark contrast to things we get now. At the time, it felt very futuristic and embodied the Y2K design of this era. Everything about it felt like the future of tech at the time. It was sleek and chromatic, especially when the PlayStation 2 words came up. The effects and sound fit so well. But let's not forget this was around 2005 to 2007, which was around the time of the Fruitigo designs. But for me, Y2K and Fruitigo Arrow seemed to blend together at this age, mainly because I was playing the PS2 still. But I remember the chromatic designs of Y2K from the old stuff my mom used to have, like artwork from her CDs and shit like that. But the outside world started to lean more into Fruitigo, with commercials from cartoons or just being in school remembering how computer labs used to look. Until one day I finally received the Xbox 360. This is where it really hits home for me. I can remember the most from this era of gaming from my childhood. The bubbly Fruitigo designs of the UI, the custom avatars you can make and have them chill with you at the main menu, being able to earn new clothes for them when you would get certain achievements. I loved the design of this UI. It was clean and fun to look at. I always liked the bubbly designs of things during this era. It made things feel much more alive to me. And of course, you can't forget the Wii. This embodied the Fruitigo designs of the mid to late 2000s. The inviting tones, the Miis you can create and take them into different games like Wii Sports. You can't forget about Wii Sports. I was the fucking king at bowling. This console was in everyone's house at the time. Gamers, non-gamers, everyone was playing the Wii. This shit was an anomaly. Not only did the UI look good on older consoles, but this even applies to video games. Let's take the main menus for example. Every game felt as if it had a unique take on the menus and UI and made it fit their specific games. It felt like the developers were willing to be more experimental and take more chances, or just show off their creativity. Just look at some of these menus. Might as well start with Black Ops. You're tied down to a chair, being interrogated and forced to look at a bunch of TVs around you. It's ominous and even kind of spooky, especially when you switch over to the zombies mode. All of a sudden, everything turns red and the interrogator walks away and comes back banging on the window as a zombie. And then that music, god damn, it's just so good. You don't get menus like this today, especially in a shooter. Or take a look at Fallout 3, a game that introduced a ton of new players to the franchise. It opens up as a gritty old school slideshow to get you familiar with the time frame you're gonna be in. Even the actual gameplay as well. Dead Space, instead of having a health bar take up space on the screen, they instead incorporate it inside of the game. It was more natural and felt like there was more reason to it. And it was so simple too, just having it on Isaac's back and being integrated as part of the suit. These are just a very few examples of games that had unique designs or a cool main menu out of all the hits that came out of this era. But with so many hits of the 360 and PS3 era came the beginning of the end. 2010 to 2011 and onward, companies started to embrace a more simpler and flat design, easy and understandable for mostly everyone to use, but overall more boring and plain to look at. The 360 went from this to this. Boo, lame. And of course, all of Microsoft's other IPs followed suit as well, like Windows. It was an invasion of squares. We got small squares, big squares, long squares, sliding squares, down, back, forward, down squares. It was a fatality to creativity in bigger companies. It seemed like all at the same time, overnight, everything started to look the exact same, and we had no other choice but to accept it. Even most video game menus take on this design now. Everything is so uniformed with each other, with few options for a cool design. Just look at some of Metaphor ReFantasio's menu designs. This shit is cool as fuck. Why don't we have more of this? In regards to video games, I'm not saying these design choices make the game bad. Far from it, actually. I mean, come on, I use Rivals and Arc Raiders as examples here. I'm just wondering where the hell all the coolness in the world disappeared to. We live in a world where it's the easiest it has ever been to be creative and share with anyone in the world. But how can anyone be inspired into creativity when the world around us is mostly dull and minimal? And of course you could search for it, but god damn. Every store looks the same, every street looks the same, every light looks the same, just a bunch of boxes everywhere, and it's so boring.
Subscribe.